清大德身体，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samya samputoshe.
Namo sanato suchedoye alahadi samya samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿皆如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. My name is Heng. Glad you are here with us. Delighted to have you here. Today is May 24th. It's a Saturday evening here in Berkeley, California. And it is the 25th of May and Sunday noon in Gold Coast of Queensland. Glad you're all here. Find a seat, sit down front. Lots of empty seats in front. Billy, the one in front, it has your name on it there next to Wesley. So there you go. Oh, that has my name on it. What do you know? You too, guys. Why are there two empty rows in front? You're all comfortably sitting in the back, right? Empty, 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 empty. 8 seats waiting for you. Please jump right in there. Mani, you got to sit down front. There you go. All right. Excellent. Everybody's so polite, you know. So. Okay, let's get started by invoking spiritual presence. We'll invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas from the Flower Garland Assembly to draw near and bless everyone here. So we do it in Chinese, and you got to keep those admissions hopping, otherwise it'll block the screen there. Here we go. Namo Furthermore, I'd like to acknowledge the Chochecho Ohlone people who practice spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here on their ancestral land in the Bay for tens of thousands of years. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. The emerging part means those yet to come. 就说我们恭敬地承认 Chochecho Ohlone 人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。All right, let's see here. Oh my goodness. You're the guy. That bell. I need that. I knew there was something missing here when I said that. With the little metal hammer. There you go. All right, Jason. Puts it right here. Thank you. We found, great, thank you. We found the actual bell that you use for the bell song. This is it right here. We've been using all kinds of substitutes. This is the actual bell. And the reason we use this one is it doesn't carry. It doesn't resonate. It just goes and it's done. Compared to something like this thing rings for like a minute and a half. The Energizer Bunny of bells. So this one, because of the way it's rung, it's the bell of choice, right? So what a good world. We have bells like that one there. That's a monster bell. And we've got bells like this one here. And then we have these different kind of bells that have the job of bringing people up and down into bows. But this particular bell is for alerting any of the gods and the dragons in the Eightfold Pantheon or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that the Sutra lecture is starting. They better hurry up. They're going to miss the Sutra. So we had it upstairs on an altar, and so I'm delighted to find it up there and bring it down for our lecture. Here we go. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. Those who are only listening but couldn't see it, that's the one we're talking about. This is the bell. All right. For the reason is, in the Chinese version, you hit it a lot. Ding, 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 3 times. Ding, 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 like that. So it's got to be a bell that doesn't resonate, or that would sound awful. 众生传3000界内，佛法扬安逸国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他能厚德。Here we go. So, Labor Day weekend, by golly, correct? This is Labor Day weekend. How was the traffic bad coming up, or is it over? Has everybody kind of gone where they're going? So, not so bad? So, once again? Not Labor Day, Memorial Day? Memorial Day. Labor Day is the end of the summer. Memorial Day. There we go. How could you forget Memorial Day? All right. Okay. Good. Hello to everyone who is here, including friends from Australia, Vancouver, Shanghai, Manchuria, Montreal, Perth. Wow. Emmy. Good. Let's see. We're being translated into Vietnamese. We're being translated into Mandarin by our fearless, tireless translation volunteers. Let's see, here we are in Guangdong, in Foshan 市 Ian's in Brisbane. Let's see here. Tina's in Oklahoma. Willie's in Virginia. Qiu Fufan's in Taipei. Harbin, Manchuria. Taipei. Sichuan. Let's see. Sichuan. Baotou, Inner Mongolia. By golly. Jilin, Sydney. Tianjin. Heilongjiang. Zhejiang, Lanhai. Where else here? Let's see. Huainan in the province of Anhui. Jiangjiakou in the province of Hubei. Suzhou. This series is making itself known in Asia, by golly. Beijing, Gangshan in Hubei, Tangshan in Hebei. Let's see here. Henan province, Harbin. Manchuria by far is the number one. We're the most popular in Manchuria, by golly. Has something to do with Master Hua coming from Manchuria, no doubt. Let's see here. Zhejiang, Zhuhai. Where else? Liaoning, Harbin. Let's see here. 还有杭州. Okay. Shandong, Jiangsu, and Shandong. All right. That number will grow as we progress. So, what are we about? Thank you all for coming, spending time on your Memorial Day weekend here at the monastery. I have some announcements later on about upcoming events, and I promised that I would answer questions, devote more time to answering questions. We were soliciting in the last couple months of these lectures. We let people know that if they wanted to ask a question about Dharma or about the Sutra, ideally, type it in. We have volunteers who are waiting for the questions, who then transfer them out to a Google Doc, and we can answer them. So there are people who are very faithful in submitting those questions, but I don't get to them week after week, so they kind of think that it's a shock, but we promise we will answer questions tonight. So that's coming up. Furthermore, let's do the announcements at the start, which is, this is the big deal. Our teacher, Master Hua, entered Nirvana 30 years ago. And every year, this turns out to be our biggest event. Not, say a holiday. It's not a holiday to remember your teacher's demise, but it's the people come from, I'm trying to negotiate this so you can, here we go. That's in the way. All right, so 30 years after our teacher entered Nirvana, we, year after year, we have a very formal ceremony. People pass, it's called a Chuangong. You pass food through everybody's hands, and there's hundreds of people. 5 buses coming up from LA, and buses from San Francisco and Sacramento and Seattle, and it's a big event. And this year, because it's the 30th anniversary, we're adding a day. We're doing Saturday as well. Not only doing the formal kind of looking back and saying our teacher passed away, but we're looking forward and saying during he arrived in 62 and started teaching more vigorously in 68, and then in 95 he left. So during those years he planted seeds which are bearing fruit now and flowering. So we want to celebrate that on Saturday. So this 1 week from today, Saturday, please come, let's see here, explore how the roots of Master Hua's vows have grown over the decades. Tours in the morning, panels, presentations, stories, Q&A. May 31st, next Saturday. And I'll be giving this lecture from CTTB. So you all won't be here. You'll be tuning in online if you can't go up to be there with it. We much preferred you come up to CTTB. Then Sunday will be the standard official commemoration. If anybody wants to find out more, we would like you to register if you think you're going to be there. So you can either hit this QR code right this minute. I'll give you about 30 more seconds to zap that QR code, or go out to drba.org, which is here. This is our DRBA website. Here's where you register. And the registration's painless. Just click on that link there. So DRBA, Dharma Realm Buddhist Association.org. Isn't that an awesome photo? Notice there's one Chinese face in that group. Those are all, sure if it was early left home people, all of them Westerners. So there it is. Okay, that's the big announcement. While I'm here, let me tell you about Buddha Root Farm, which is our annual retreat up in the Oregon woods. Wesley and others who have not been to Buddha Root Farm, you should definitely consider checking this out. The dates are June 21st to June 27th. We got 2 Chanyu, one of those has your name on it up here, right? Otherwise, nobody's going to sit in them, and everybody gets pushed back further and further and further. There you go. All right. If you get cold, there are blankets over there to put around your legs. Okay, June 21st to June 27th, there will be a 3-day Chan session added on this year, so it's actually 10 days. Wonderful experience. People who go to Buddha Root Farm, even if you've never camped out under the stars in your life ever before, when they try it, if camping is not your thing, read there's all of these safety measures and information, and a place to register right here. You apply. But after the 3rd day, people say, this is how Buddhism should be practiced in North America, man. This is so good. There's a reason why the Buddha wandered and had his monks wander and camp outdoors, right? It's just sublime. This is a very pristine, very beautiful, quiet, vital, growing Oregon mountain range. It's our property called Buddha Root Farm, 21 miles in from the coast, near Reedsport, Oregon. So do check out all of the info here at Buddha Root Farm. And if you had any thought that you might want to take part, don't hesitate. Jump. And if you have questions, ask us. We'll be happy to tell you whether you could become a Buddha Root farmer yourself. Indeed, indeed. All right. Now, today, what's going on? Sudhana, our hero, has been walking for 12 years with the instructions that he got from his last teacher. And it took him all this time to digest the information that he got from the teacher called Lord Mega. And we parsed it, we talked about it, and discovered, interestingly, that essentially what he got from Lord Mega was an algorithm. He got a large language model. He really did. That allowed him to understand the languages of gods, what the devas are saying in the heavens, plural heavens, ghosts and spirits, beings in the spiritual realm. He can understand all those languages. He got a fundamental interface that took him, it made so many significant changes in his spiritual makeup that it took him 12 years to digest it, to figure out what was going on, and to catch up with all the changes. And the text that we have been looking at the last couple of weeks listed all the things that happened to him as he absorbed those teachings and tried to put them, to sort them. So 12 years walking between teachers. He has now, this was the text last week where we stopped. He continued his pilgrimage, traveling for a period of 12 years, till he got to Home Grove, and found the elder liberation. He found him, he bowed to the ground, put his palms together, and said, Venerable Sage, I've now come face to face with the teacher, and this is good. Why is that? So we left you with the cliffhanger. Why is it good? Now, tonight I've got something a little special, which is I've got another translation of the Avatamsaka right here, done by a bhikshu in our tradition whose name is Heng, one of those monks that you just saw in that picture, one of the first 5 bhikshus to ordain in America. And he is writing under the pen name Dharma Mitra, Bhikkhu Dharma Mitra, Kalavinka Press, translated the entire Avatamsaka Sutra, start to finish, the whole thing, 3 volumes. This is one of 3. So I've got his text that is the counterpart of this. This is our current BTTS translation here. And so I'm going to give you 2 English translations, and they mutually shed light on each other, so it's a good thing to have choices of English. Okay? So let's do this paragraph here. And I'll give you a line and you give it back to me. Anybody who is able to read the kanji, the hanzi, please go ahead. If you can only read the bopomofo, the syllabary on the side, you can read that too. Those are Taiwanese friends. And those of you who would like to try your Mandarin out, here's the sounds right there. So it's kind of fun to hear these syllables coming out of your own mouth. So, and we turn the cameras off, so nobody will know if you're endeavoring, right? So, as one of our online poet friends says, it doesn't matter if you don't get it right the first time. Go ahead. Here we go. 善利何以故？善知识者难可得见，难可得闻，难可出现，难得奉事，难得亲近，难得承接，难可逢之，难得共居，难领喜悦，难得随逐，我今会遇，未得善利。Alrighty, there we go. Now let's do the English in unison. And for doing unison in English, the punctuation is our friend. The period tells us hard stop. Commas tell us briefer stop, take a breath. White space, take a breath together. That way we really can do, the Chinese say, 异口同音, different mouths, but a single sound, harmony. You can do it in unison, Grab a chair. We got, let's see, we need some more chairs over on this side. All right. Excellent. Here we go. Are we ready? Right here. Let's start up these last 2 words. Here we go. Ready? And why? Ready? Here we go. It is rare to encounter a good advisor. It is rare to get to hear him speak. It is rare to have him appear. It is rare to get to serve him. It is rare to get to draw near to him. It is rare to welcome him. It is rare to encounter him. It is rare to get to live together with him. It is rare to please him. It is rare to follow him. But at last I have met you and gained benefits. All right. Now the pronoun is not significant. This is gender neutral language, so that could have been her in every case. All right. The Chinese says nan de, hard to get, difficult to get, hard to encounter, right? And you see it happen 10 times. This sutra is always tens of this, tens of that. We got 5 places in front that are vacant. If anybody wants to be bold, come on down. People are getting pushed further and further back. In front. Sit. Guojuan, what are you sitting on the back for? Come on. I don't want to sit in front. All right. So, hard to get to, and then there were all these different states of relationship. Okay, there you go. Thank you. All right. So, what is this about? Sudhana's met his teacher, finally, after 12 years of looking. 12 years of just digesting and trying out these new instructions he's got. What would it be if we had to get an equivalent? So he's been to see, this is teacher number 6, and there are a total of 53. He goes to 53 teachers. This is teacher number 6. And from each one, he's learned a new method of cultivation, a new way of practicing, a new way of, you could say, encountering reality, but the reality that he encounters is rich. Okay, I've got one. If this July, at the end of July, I'm going to be in Asheville, North Carolina, at the Swananoa Gathering, and it's an arts festival for old-time music, and also song, the instruments, banjo, mandolin, fiddle. There's a Celtic week, there's a fiddle week, there's a Old Time Week, which is a celebration of the music that came to the Appalachians from Ireland, Scotland, from England, and places where the Celtic diaspora went. So I teach a class of meditation and performance for musicians, and there's almost a physical reaction when I say, all right, I want you all now to listen to the silence between the notes. And people go, oh. It's just this gear shifting. Because if you're learning an instrument, or let's say it's old-time banjo that you're trying to play, and everybody's like, oh, I got to get my hands up this new technique. And there's always pushing and kind of reaching out to get the notes right. And then if you say, hear the silence between the notes, and there's this, and you realize that the silence contains every sound. There's no sound that is not entirely contained within silence. Silence leads. The notes are just an adornment, right? And when you get that, and there's this shift, it's like, oh, yeah. You don't have to struggle to hear the silence. You have to stop struggling to hear the silence. You have to let go the seeking that wants the note to be just right, So you're playing like this. And you go, oh, darn, I played the wrong note. And then you go, now listen to the silence. And suddenly everything relaxes in this, right? I think, was it Miles Davis who said there are no wrong notes, there's only possibilities? So Sudhana has been absorbing all these instructions and had that experience over and over and over. The teacher gives him an entirely new way of orienting his reality. So he gets this, when you realize, whoa, there is nothing but silence in what we do inside of silence. Why am I struggling? Why am I grabbing on? You can make this right in. No. Thank you for giving me the silence. And we don't have to do anything to hear the silence except stop seeking the notes. And then the notes are just a gift, you know. So it's like that kind of reorientation to integrate into the ecology of sound. He's doing that with every one of his sense organs: sight, smell, taste, touch, and most of all, dharmas, mind. He is no longer chasing his false thoughts, and he's not pursuing true thoughts any longer. So now, after 12 years, suddenly it's time to prepare for the next one. And these 10 thoughts come out. How rare it is to meet somebody who can actually do that for you, who can give you another technique, another approach, who can widen your perspective so that you, when was the last time you looked at a black and white photograph, for example? Right? Black and white photos have their own incredible virtues. And it's funny, our eyes are perfectly happy to look at a black and white photo and don't feel it's deficient. Even though, look at all the colors, particularly in this Buddha hall, right? And then you add the color and it's almost like an impact of reds and greens and yellows. It's like, oh yeah. More and different systems fire up when color is added. So here is a good and wise advisor who can do that for you, who can provide something that you didn't know you already had. And they point to it and you go, oh, I'm richer now for her pointing that out to me. Thank you. Right? So rare to have him appear, there he is. Rare to get to serve him, there he is, she. It is rare to get to approach, qinjin, draw near. We don't say that much, we say hang with, but it means to get close to. Rare to welcome him, her. Rare to encounter, rare to get to stay with him. So you can see how the person walks, how they sit, how they brush their teeth. Rare to please him, not because they're hard to please, but because it's just having the opportunity to have this level of relationship. Rare to follow him or her, but you, kind sir, I have met and good things are happening. So this is, now people, what are we looking at? We're looking at a Buddha Sutra. This is called the Flower Garland, the Avatamsaka Sutra. And what are we reading? We're reading a very human document. This is two people, a conversation. One of them is a future student, and the other one is the teacher. The student hopes to gain instructions from the teacher, but he's introduced himself. He's the new face. And there's a process in each of these 53 encounters, which is, Sudhana says these words. He says, let me say it. 圣者，我已先发阿耨多罗三藐三菩提心. Okay, he says, Venerable Sage, I have already brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Okay. This is called the bodhi resolve, the bodhi citta in Sanskrit. For people who study this tradition, the Mahayana tradition, the Bodhisattva path, this is the moment. This is the important turning point, the sine qua non. If you don't have this, you don't have it. This is it. Without which not, right? The bodhi resolve says, I have in my own heart come up with a goal, that seeks wisdom. Wisdom is my goal. And I'm going to, because that's the goal, I've also got my method for getting to that goal, which is dealing with my own issues. That's the word we use these days. Why are we not wise right now? Question number 2, when we get the wisdom that is our potential, according to the Buddha, what gets it? What is it that gets wise? The answer to the first question, why am I not as wise as a Buddha right this minute when he says I have the potential to do so, is because of the collective word for it is ignorance. In Chinese is wuming, it's a lack of light, not enough light. Break it down, it's opinions, it's prejudices, it's biases, it's troubles, blues, depression, issues, hang-ups, etc., etc. Those are the things that I have full measure of, but underneath them, or you could say woven in each one of them, is that potential to be completely wise and completely kind. That's the principle behind the Bodhi resolve. So the Chinese goes like this. It says, 上乘佛道. Above, I can become a Buddha. 下化众生. Below, I teach living beings. Wrong translation. It's not 上 above, 下 below. That would have the Buddha up there and living beings somewhere else. That's a very theistic view. That's the idea that there's a supreme being here in the Buddha system, which is not the case. Instead, what's the right translation? The right translation says, ultimately, I can become entirely wise. And to get there, immediately I start to teach my own living beings. That's the technical language. So, in other words, this Bodhi resolve says, yes, I could get another PhD. Yes, I could, get on the bandwagon and get a $90,000 tax break because I'm already making $1 million, right? And I'll take that. No, I'm not going to do that. I promise I won't do it. I could make a lot of money. Okay. That's all good, as long as you're generous. But I'd rather do something else. I'd rather put my effort into waking myself up. Because I know I'm asleep half the day, more than half, right? So that's the Bodhi resolve. That's the key. That single thought. What am I about? I'm about waking up. They say that the Buddhist phrase is, we living beings are born drunk and die in a dream. 醉生梦死, they say. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Every now and then we kind of see a little further, we kind of put some things together, and it's not quite so confusing. But then something happens, pushes our buttons, and we're back into the whirlpool. Whirling. Right? So this says, even if that's my reality, I know I can wake up. And how do I do it? I find teachers. I find what's called a guo lai ren, somebody who's gone and come back, gone over and come back. And they're there. Often, wise women carry the torch. Or sometimes it can be something as ephemeral as the night sky, when you can see the stars. Somehow it's just like it helps you set down all of the issues that get in between my clear seeing, that keep me, confused. The best image I have is the one time I've been in Las Vegas at Hera's Club. Is Hera's in Reno, or is that in Las Vegas? Watching, as a monk, when we were on a bus tour. You remember the bicentennial, 1976? Anybody alive in 1976? A few of us were, right? So you don't have to put your hand up. That's all right. So in Greyhound bus in 1976 said, as long as you don't go backwards, we'll provide you for $100 and a Ameripass. You keep going from city to city for $100. Pay $100 flat rate, go from Atlanta to Dallas, and Dallas to Houston, and Houston to New Orleans. And as long as you don't repeat your route, turn back, you just $100. So we did that. We started in San Francisco, 3 months, and went to New York, and then went to Atlanta, and went to Houston, and came back through Las Vegas, because one of the monks grew up in Las Vegas. His father was there still. And we wound up, I have to explain why I was in Las Vegas, right? You have to understand. So we stopped at lunch, because buffet, right? Free lunch. And on the way to the buffet, we had to go past the one-armed bandits. Chinese, they're called 什么老虎? 吃钱老虎. Is that? 吃脚老虎. Slot machines, right? And oh my goodness, talk about living beings who are born drunk and dying in a dream. These white-haired, steely, sweet old ladies, one hand holding a coffee can full of quarters, the other hand with a glove on, and putting a quarter in, pulling the handle, putting a quarter in, pulling the handle, putting a quarter in, pulling it down the line. I don't want to tell you how many of them were Chinese and Vietnamese, right? Going down, pulling all the handles. The fourth one down that row hit a jackpot. She didn't know. She didn't care. She was just, I'm going to get rich someday. I'm going to strike it rich, right? And just in this daze. And they had these employees who would just patrol and say, ma'am, come pick up your quarters. You hit the pot. You didn't know. Those are all yours. You won. Oh, I won. Oh. Afflicted by the disease of gambling, right? I'm going to get rich someday. And yet, what do they say? One of the sufferings is cho ar buddha, right? Seeking and not getting is suffering. In these cases, seeking and getting became more suffering. Just was this affliction of pursuing desire. So the Buddhist principle is desire can't be satisfied. It's like a fire. It just burns and burns and burns and burns. That's us. That's we living beings. The Bodhi resolve says, that's not enough. There's got to be more, right? There's got to be more. So what is it? If it's not worldly accomplishment, what is the point? What am I after? So the Bodhi resolve says, answer that question. Yourself. In the quiet of your own clear mind. Answer that question. Go for it. There is potential for wisdom in each and every one of us. And it's gradual. It's bit by bit. It works the way gardens grow crops. Just every day a little bit more. Right? So, looking at Mito, I think he doesn't grow, he grows like a foot every day. You turn your back and he's like taller, right? So, my gosh. So, yeah. So, anyway, he meets the good advisor, and the good advisor knows how to tell him, knows how to guide him or her on their goal. Here's a good advisor right here. This is Master Empty Cloud. In the picture, how old is he in the picture? 116. Look at it. Look at his posture. He's one of the monks who said, one day of no work is one day of no eating. At age 118, he was out with a rake hoeing his garden at Zhenru Si in Jiangxi province. So I wanted to share a story here. Myself, Marty, Heng Chao, and I went on a pilgrimage, and every 3 steps we bowed to the ground. Started in South Pasadena and wound up in Ukiah 2.5 years later, going about 1 mile a day that way, up Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway. And we lived during that time like the Buddha's monks. We lived entirely on donations, whatever came. We didn't carry food. And occasionally, you would think that went well, but this series of pictures, this happened in Santa Maria. People know Santa Maria. It's near the Nipomo Mesa. It's a very interesting and haunted corner of Central California, at least for us it was. This is where Brussels sprouts come from. It's major Brussels sprouts and artichoke fields, because it's not far from the ocean. It's also one of the main routes for the smuggling of illicit substances from Mexico, I might add. So we found that out later from the highway patrol who got to know us pretty well. So, all right, look at this chaotic scene. This is me and Marty right here, and Sherpa was standing right here behind this layman here. You can see monks and nuns in their robes. They've just gotten off of the City of 10,000 Buddhas school bus. This is the yellow bus with the dragon bus. You've all seen that one? Parked up at the CTDB. Now, I'm showing you this photo, but you need to know the backstory. On this day, we had trained ourselves to recognize green plants, wild plants. We had a copy of the book called Stalking the Wild Asparagus. Anybody remember Stalking the Wild Asparagus? Nobody does? Okay. So it was a guide to wild plants, foraging for wild plants, because that was the way we got fresh greens. And if you go far enough from the highway, where the lead exhaust doesn't go quite as far, that's one of the reasons that non-leaded gas came out. So we'd go out and pick sorrel and dock and pot greens and things, and did very well. Once you start to see them, the fields of California become like a produce department in a grocery store. Just everything you see, oh, look at that, that's in season, I didn't know. So other than that, we depended on what people offered. And on this day, a low-rider car came through, and the guy said, "Hey, understand you're heading north, huh? Well, you thought we'd help you out. We got some desserts for you." I had made a vow of no sugar the month before. I have a sweet tooth, and I said, no more sugar. So Marty, my companion, got to eat my share, right? So he was okay with that. So we had lunch and some greens and some leftover from the day before, rice and bread, and then the dessert. And after an hour or so, Marty suddenly had to lay down, and he wasn't talking, and he just was gone. And I had a vow of silence. I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to think, but there's my Dharma protector, who's like flat out on the ground. The low-rider car came by, and the guy says, "Hey, monks, how'd you like the marzipan, monks? Laced with LSD." And Marty was like, "Wow," So an hour later, this yellow bus shows up. It had set out from San Francisco at 4 a.m. to meet us, I guess it was like 8 a.m., to meet us down in the Nipomo Mesa in Central California. Everybody got off the bus, and what did Master Hua do? This is in the context of a good and wise advisor. It's hard to meet a good advisor. What does he do? He gets up. Look at Marty's face. He's like, no. How many teachers? One thing I'm going to say, I don't know where to bow. About which one of the three is Shifu, So, and I'm not talking. So what does he do? Shifu pulls out his patriarch whisk. This is his baifu, right? This is one of the 42 hands and eyes, is this whisk. You see, it's a Dharma implement that you use at times like this. So Shifu starts to whisk both of us, and Marty in particular. And so we bow to Shifu on the spot, and Marty's like, bing, where was I? Right? So, oh my goodness. Here we are. Some happy person took these photos, and I just got a photo scanner. So these have been in my box of photos for years now. I just scanned them today, so I wanted to share this. Knowing about Sudhana's teacher. So here is Shifu whisking his American disciples. Right? You creep. There he is. Shifu, I really shouldn't eat so much dessert, right? So, marzipan. So, indeed, a good and wise advisor is hard to meet. So they say. And if you meet one, let's see, that's not it. Put that away. If you meet one, you gain benefit. In this case, our pilgrimage could continue, right? It is rare to get to encounter him, to watch him follow the Tao. It is rare to please him, follow him, but I've met you at last, and good things are happening. Venerable Sage, I have brought forth the resolve for bodhi. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is the full Sanskrit name for the Buddha's enlightenment. Unsurpassed, it's Wu Shang Zheng Deng Zheng Jue is the translation of it. Sometimes they just transliterate it. A no do lo san miao san puti xin. It's just a thought. The Bodhi resolve is a thought. You ask yourself, what is my potential? How do I get there? What's keeping me from it? And that's a question for every single one of us, right? So what happens next is 31 reasons why he wants to wake up. See, he's been, as they say, he has been wandering for all these years, and 12 years, and he hasn't met a teacher, anybody who he thinks can answer his question. So now it's just pouring out of him, right? He says, let's go down to the bottom of the page, all right? Let's do this one. Here we go. Are you ready? 为欲是一切佛故，是一切佛故，为欲执一切佛故，为欲见一切佛故，为欲观一切佛故，为欲知一切佛故，为欲证一切佛平等故，为欲发一切佛大愿故，为欲满一切佛大愿故，为欲具一切佛智光故。All right. Now, we've got Bhikshu Heng Shou's translation here, so we can compare. Okay. So, he says, are you ready? Let's read it together. Start with the 4, here we go. For the sake of serving Buddhas, for the sake of meeting Buddhas, for the sake of seeing Buddhas, for the sake of contemplating Buddhas, for the sake of knowing Buddhas, for the sake of realizing sameness with Buddhas, for the sake of bringing forth the great vows of Buddhas, for the sake of fulfilling the great vows of Buddhas, for the sake of mastering the wisdom light of Buddhas. Okay, so of the 31, this is the Buddhas section. The next section is Dharma. The following is Bodhisattvas, or Sangha. He's got Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as his motive now. All right, so let me read you how Heng Shou, as you look at this. This is a slightly different take on the English, and it helps shed light. So here we go. He says, O Arya, I have already resolved to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi because I wish to serve all Buddhas, because I wish to meet all Buddhas, because I wish to see all Buddhas, because I wish to contemplate all Buddhas, because I wish to know all Buddhas, because I wish to realize all Buddhas' uniform equality, because I wish to make the great vows of all Buddhas, because I wish to fulfill all Buddha's great vows, because I wish to become equipped with all Buddha's wisdom light. Okay, equipped with instead of mastering. So, different approach, but helps to hear different English. So, why does he want to make the Bodhi resolve? Because he wants to find out about Buddhas. He wants to make Buddhas part of his life. And this is really interesting because we get the word Buddha, Buddhism, the institution that grew up, kind of the church, so to speak, that grew up around all of the people who were moved by the story of this man who woke up, this person who realized his potential for great compassion and wisdom, and wanted to do what he did, wanted to follow him. That's where Buddhism, the ism, began. And yet, how many of us take the Buddha for real, or for as anything other than, I mean, we talk about God, and 90% of the world's religions are theistic, have a God in the center. In Judaism, we can't say his name. Yod He Vav He, YVWH. Adonai, right, the all in all. In Judaism, you don't say his name. In Islam, we say Allah and Muhammad the Prophet, peace be upon him. You honor the interpreters, but the highest good, this divine being is, it's like, he's just too much light, too far away. It's like hard to kind of imagine that you could serve, meet, see, contemplate, know, be the same as. Look at that. I want to be the same as the Buddha. I do a lot of Buddhist-Christian dialogue, Buddhist interfaith dialogue, and one of the things you say about Buddhism that is really different from any theistic religions that have a theos, that have a God in the center, is what? Anybody who practices the Dharma starts out with the promise that at the end of the path, you replace the Buddha. Just that, right? In any theistic religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, whatever, that's blasphemy. You don't become God, right? In certain times in religious history, that'd be enough to get your head cut off, or burned at the stake, or nailed up, So it's like, yeah, you do. The idea is we become Buddhas ourselves. That's the promise. When that Bodhi resolve, when we finally dealt with all our issues and crossed over all those living beings, I've learned to open my tiny shriveled heart from all of the people who I exclude. All of the, how can DEI be wrong and bad? What kind of a, there's a reality, I don't want to hear anything else. We don't like diversity. We don't like equity. We don't want to include anybody. Man, that is suffering. That's a lot of pain. To hold down to that narrow. You know, you go out into the forest and here is a oak tree, here's a beech tree, here's a gum tree, here's a pine, here's a birch. They all grow in the same ground. They all drink from the same water. How can your world be so narrow? So this point, for the sake of realizing sameness with the Buddhas, that's unique view. The idea that we too, female, male, young, old, different species, become Buddhas, ultimately. To the point where the Buddha had a cousin named Devadatta who was jealous. He had one of those narrow natures. He didn't want the Buddha to succeed in awakening and actually tried to obstruct him to the point where he tried to take his life. He tried to defame him. The Devadatta hooked up a scheme where he had a prostitute. He hired a woman of the night to put pillows under her dress and go into the town and say, he got me pregnant, that phony prophet, right? And the Devas, the Buddha was like, oh my goodness, here he goes again, you know. And the Devas said, we can't, this is not going to work. Transformed themselves into mice and went running up her legs and bit through the ropes, and the pillows fell to the ground, and everyone went, oh, it's a ruse. Shame on you, right? So multiple times Devadatta tried to kill the Buddha, and he died, and the legend goes that he fell into the hells alive, they say. And we're going, oh boy, that's a violent kind of story. And then we went to the Jeta Grove in Benares, in India, and the Mahabodhi guide, the Sri Lankan monk, says, oh my golly. He says, yes, Devadatta, oh, look here, this is where he fell. Yes, he fell right there. And here's a pit in the grass, in the Jeta Grove. He says, we didn't touch it. No, we get this in. Go, really? The Buddha crossed Devadatta out of the hells and made him an arhat. Even Devadatta, who had these harmful, hateful thoughts, woke up. So, how much the more so should we not give up on ourselves? So here is Sudhana saying, I want to serve, meet, see, contemplate, know, be the same as, make the vows of, and then realize the vows of Buddhas. And I like this one, I want to master their wisdom light. Heng said, be replete. He said, be equipped, correct. He said, I wish to become equipped with the Buddha's wisdom light. So that's what he wants. And he's been thinking about it as he travels the road. Our very own Bhikshu Heng Sho sent an email yesterday. He's suffering poor health. So he says, my health is quite lousy. Side effects from the meds reduce his translation output. He says, that's irritating since, as you infer correctly, translation is the thing I care about most. 3 volumes, and this is only one sutra that he translated. So, oh well, another instance of karmic obstacles catching up with me. So I repent, I strengthen my vows to continue on downstream, meaning in the future lives, praying I will always be able to be guided to circumstances in which early in every lifetime I encounter the right Dharma, the good Kalyana Mitra. What's a Kalyana Mitra? Good advisor. Exactly what Sudhana is talking about. and circumstances conducive to becoming a Mahayana bhikshu early in life when still young and healthy. I might add, I've said these words myself. Praying too to meet again in many ensuing lifetimes the same great bodhisattva, parens, Guanyin, I assume, in this lifetime, the one that we encountered manifesting as Venerable Shenhua, Lao Hashang. Right? He says, I want to meet Guanyin in Shifu again, so that I might be able to assist him. Let me read that. I chopped it up. Let's see. It's a long sentence. He says, praying I'll always be able to be guided to circumstances in which, early in every lifetime, I encounter the right Dharma, the good Kalyana Mitra, the good advisor, and circumstances conducive to becoming a Mahayana bhikshu early in life when still young and healthy. Praying too to meet again in many ensuing lifetimes the same great bodhisattva, Guanyin, I assume, we encountered in this lifetime manifesting as the Venerable Master Shenhua, so that I might be able to assist him with his bodhisattva works while continuing to receive his teachings and guidance on the bodhisattva path, so as not to fall away from the bodhisattva path and repay in some small fraction his marvelous kindness in saving my life, both spiritually and physically, who knows how many times. Sounds like the Sutra. All right. So, now, to fulfill my promise, I've got to go out to the questions. Let's do that. Cliff has been kind enough to fill in for Sam. Let's see here. Here we are. All right. 我父亲去世了，而且是杀人后自杀的。我该怎么帮他忏悔，利益到他呢？而且我和他有多次毁坏佛经佛像的污泥罪。My father passed away. It was a murder-suicide. How can I repent on his behalf and benefit him? He and I have committed the 5 heinous offenses multiple times, including destroying Buddhist scriptures and images. Okay, first thing is to recognize that's a mistake. The next would be to counter. So if you know that you've done those things, be sure that you want to stop. Do you plan to do those things again? If so, I would bow to Guanyin and hope to remove those causes from my own heart. Meanwhile, in terms of killing, if you want to, let's work on your dad to say that you can work on his behalf, and then by working on his behalf, you get the benefit as well. One of the best things to do, so killing and suicide are violent acts where you take the life out of a body, out of a form. That's a sudden shock that if the suicide and murder hadn't happened, would have continued in that body. So the murder-suicide is a result. The cause is from acts of killing that you have done or he has done in the past that now resulted in a debt coming back to move his soul, his consciousness out of the body. Didn't go anywhere, it's going to find another body and come back. So anybody who, from a Buddhist point of view, is considering suicide, find a friend and talk it out. Find a hotline, find a landlord, find a classmate, somebody to talk it out. Because why? Suicide only postpones. They say that killing is, because the idea that the basic Buddhist ideas were all connected. And karma is true. Cause and effect is true. Plant carrots, get carrots. Plant potatoes, get potatoes. So when you disrupt that natural process of coming into being, aging, flourishing, aging, passing away, coming back, when you suddenly take the soul out of a body, it's a shock in the continuum, right? And that ripples back to you, and you have to repeat it. It just continues and continues and continues. It doesn't improve or change things. In fact, it actually adds to the burden, because you are both the perpetrator and the victim when you kill yourself. So it's a very, in terms of cause and effect, it's a confusing spreadsheet. So find a friend to think it over again. As for the dad, because you have a tie with this man who you identify as your dad, you can actually help him by doing the opposite of killing, which is to say, actions that foster life. We have a practice called liberating life, where you buy up animals, birds, fish that were heading for slaughter, and let them go. Problem is, if you live in Haozhou, I don't know where Haozhou is, but if it's a city, often you can't liberate life, right? If you buy the wrong kind of creatures, let them go, you're actually harming the environment, and there are regulations against that. If you live in a place where you can happily liberate life, for example, one of the best places for feng sheng, liberating life, was Vancouver, because you go down to the docks, buy up a bunch of fresh seafood, go around the corner and put them back in, give them another chance. We wanted to liberate life at Tilden Park, and we had Mexican red-eared turtles, and the East Bay Regional Parks ranger caught us and said, "Do not put those red-eared Mexican turtles into Jewel Lake." He said, "They are aggressive. They eat the brown pond turtle, which is native and is very kind-hearted and gentle. Pretty soon all you have are Mexican red-eared turtles. Don't do that." Somebody said, we didn't know. So you have to be careful. But the idea of liberating life, giving creatures that could have died another chance, actually counters the karma of killing. So that's one. Another really, really good way to reduce the amount of killing karma is don't participate in eating flesh, right? Every creature would prefer to stay alive. We like the skin that we were born in. So if you can find your way to nourish your body in a way that is harmless, that doesn't involve buying meat killed by somebody else, doesn't involve taking the life of creatures that would much rather live, just eating some of the abundant, nutritious foods. For example, this one never ate a Big Mac. Never ate chicken wings. Never did. Never ate barbecue. And sure enough, missed out on some of the, the flavor. But lived to be 120, and according to reports, ate shifan a lot. He ate porridge a lot. Often didn't even eat. Of course, he could meditate for 2 weeks without moving, as we found out in the biography last week that we studied. So you can do really well by eating foods that don't involve killing, and that really does cut into the killing karma. That's a really good start. You lose in the flavor, but you gain in the real credits and debits on your life ledger. So there you go. If you've committed the 5 heinous offenses multiple times, how come? Who told you to do that? Don't. You can, you're free to, but it doesn't help you a bit. Destroying Buddhist scriptures and images is not helpful to anybody, right? So you decide, free world. Okay, during last year's Lunar New Year, participated in the Yanghang Jewel Repentance Dharma Summit. During that, family is very supportive of more about the reason we have the master claim the cause, gain benefit from participating in online Dharma Summit in the future, restore Sutra at home in the afternoon and the evening, spend with me. Okay. This comes from Heilongjiang, Black Dragon River, Manchuria. So during Lunar New Year's, took part in a repentance ceremony. Family was supportive, good, but bowed and got agitated. Didn't understand why, how come. Okay, how do you gain benefit from participating in online Dharma assemblies in the future? The answer is participate in online Dharma assemblies in the future. You gain benefit immediately by doing that. It's not how you get benefit. Just if you don't do it, you don't get any benefit. Why do you feel agitated when you bow? I would suggest that the agitation comes from a combination of physical and intellectual or emotional reasons. One is, when you bow, you're, in our style, we do these 5-point bows. When you bow, you are very close to a fetal position, right? You know, where you're back in, like in the womb. And as a result, your trunk muscles, your core, your thighs are all relaxed. They're all in a very vulnerable but protected place. And my guess is, it's not that the bowing created agitation, the bowing released agitation that was already there, waiting to get released. Okay? Have you ever, like, when you get into the sleep position, just kind of feel these tremors leave you? That's the tension from the day, especially if you've had to negotiate the freeway and traffic jams and things. We don't recognize how much tension we carry, we accumulate in our body just by being alive. Fight or flight on the freeway. It's amazing. All of the adrenals are released by having to do 101 past the hospital heading south. Oh my goodness. So I would suggest that probably the more you bow, the less that will happen. If it continues, if every time you bow you find yourself agitated, then change your practices. Certainly cultivation is not to increase affliction, it's to transform affliction. So continue. I would say bowing shouldn't cause you to get agitated. Probably it's a very spontaneous reaction to really, really relaxing. The other thing to do is, it could be that trying to keep up with the speed of the repentance, sometimes the Uenos go too fast. And you bow and you bow and you bow and you bow, and they're chanting, and you really enjoyed the bow, and it's time to stand up again. It's like, I've had that experience. Possibly it's the tunes, maybe set you at a rhythm. Bow by yourself more slowly. I think it's a mistake to say bowing makes me agitated. I think it's the case that the physical conditions or the speed of the assembly may have caused the affliction. Okay, reciting or restore Sutra at home in the afternoon or evening. How do you send away the spirits? How do you know the spirits are coming to listen? Do you see them? Do you provide chairs for them? What do you do? Light incense? Should I recite in the morning? I think maybe you're 好像过分认真了，你不要那么认真啊。So Master Hua tells us that the spirits come. I don't see them. I don't know how many come. Oh, there's old Uncle John. He's back. So I wouldn't, that's a little bit pretentious on your part. That's definitely a false thought. 那就是妄想. Right? If you recite the sutra, why are you looking at spirits? Come on, recite the sutra. That's false thinking. Should you recite in the morning? Recite whenever you have time. The Buddha is awake. He's not asleep. Whenever morning or night, the Buddha will hear your recitation. How do you distinguish right from wrong when practicing Buddhism for the benefit of others? How do you resolve worries and troubles that arise? You distinguish right from wrong when practicing Buddhism for the benefit of others, just the way you do it when you are at work, just the way you do it when you are at breakfast. You distinguish right from wrong no different than any other time or any other activity for the benefit of others. I'm surprised that question would arise. Why would there be any difference in practicing Buddhism for the benefit of others? Maybe I don't want to sound snarky. Maybe I'm not getting a circumstance in which practicing for the benefit of others you would be confused about right from wrong. How do you resolve worries and troubles that arise? Cultivate the way. That's the purpose. Worries and troubles are fanna, that's affliction. That's exactly what the practice of the Dharma is there to resolve. Worries and afflictions are what? They're like knots that get tied. When you meditate, when you bow, when you recite the Buddha's name, when you memorize a mantra, when you go serve other people, when you respond with kindness instead of with aggression or nastiness, those knots just spontaneously disappear. And it seems to me like you're still spinning on the surface. And how could it not be? How many hours a day do we spend on these devices? And if so, particularly if we have a steady diet of news and input, and we set the phone down and then go meditate, right? And all of that stuff is just... We live in high-stress worlds where we're expected to produce and we're on a schedule. Of course it's difficult to distinguish right from wrong and resolve worries and troubles, but it's precisely because those worries and troubles are not innate. They come in through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. We let them in. So cultivate with the idea to disengage eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind from the stimulus around us while you're sitting. Not that you block it out while you're sitting, you just let it come and go. Let it go in, don't let it stick, right? You don't have to grab it. I love that, oh, I hate that, right? Too much trouble. When you meditate, just let it happen. Disengage the eyes from choosing sights, disengage the ears from picking out sounds, and the mind from clinging to futures that you want and futures that you hate, or reminiscing about things that didn't go your way, right? If you meditate correctly, if you practice correctly, you're doing exactly this. You're resolving worries and troubles that arise simply because you don't grab them. You don't engage them. Let them go, right? Where do they stick? Where can dust alight, right? Fundamentally, there's nothing there. Where could dust alight? Okay, whoa, so many questions. I will file my answer in triplicate, and let's see. I've experienced painful events. This is from Jilin. So many questions from Manchuria, right? I've experienced painful events in the past, left an imprint in the mind. I chose to forget them. Recently, the memories surge back like waves. Realize I suppressed them rather than truly letting them go. Feels like watching a movie of my past self. I don't hold hatred toward those involved, but I find those events impossible to forget. When those people reappear in my life, my response has been to refuse to see them. How should I face the situation? I understand in the past, mind can't be grasped, yet these events are deeply ingrained. Does this mean they still reside in my heart? My heart is not pure. By choosing not to see these people, does that mean the karmic ties have come to an end? Okay, real world question. I totally identify with that situation. As Master Hua explained, he said, the people that we meet in this life are people who we meet in every life. We met each other before. And with the people that we meet, I'm not sure why Cliff, why did you highlight that? Okay. The people that we meet, we have either tied up wholesome affinities or negative affinities. In other words, people owe us because we were good to them, or we owe them because we were bad to them. So the people who we want to meet are out there waiting for those seeds to ripen. The people we don't want to meet are out there waiting for those seeds to ripen. And it totally depends on how we are towards the people now. What do they say? If I want to understand what's coming, look at what I'm doing now. If I want to understand why what happened, look at what I did in the past, right? What I do, I will become, right? What I have done, I am now doing. So the past manifests in the present, the future is being planted right this minute. So that's not a Buddhist principle, that's cause and effect. That's in the Hebrew scriptures, that's just the way the world works. And they say ignorance is not accepting cause and effect. So, in this case, this person had a lot of connection with certain relationships, and they're there. So, you see, like watching a movie, your past self. You don't hate them, but it's hard to forget it. When they appear, I want to refuse to see them. Yeah, it is pain. Okay, here's my story. I had a young monk, in my, I had done 3 steps, 1 bow. I was still silent. I was back in with Marty, and there was a young monk who showed up. He did high school at our high school. So he ordained at 20, just as a young man. And he hadn't seen much of the world outside the monastery. And somehow, he and I, face to face, were like cats and dogs. Just 说水火不怎么说格格不入, right? How does it go? 水火不分. 对, 不相容. Just could not get along. Just a single look, and we were like, just felt the hackles go up. And he went out of his way to make my life miserable, and I had, very uncharitable thoughts to him. And Marty, poor Heng Chao, was right in between. And he just, if you guys are going to keep on this, I said, I'm just going up on the roof and meditate. I don't want to. It was not a happy situation. The 3 of us were in Taipei, at Nong'an-jie, the very first Taipei Fa-jie. People know that was the earliest branch in Taiwan. And we were in a small room. Actually, we were living in the book warehouse, sleeping in between the cartons, Monks are, we make do. So, difficult situation. And I didn't know what to do. Couldn't figure it out. Clearly, he and I had these kind of connections. So, I came back to the U.S., he went back to school, and we didn't see each other for about 2 years. We came together, City of 10,000 Buddhas, and Master Hua was standing right outside Rulai Si, the monastery, when I looked at this monk, and he looked at me, and it just filled me up, this kind of, there he is, right? Master Hua had his whisk in his hand. Interesting, 2 stories of the whisk. And he went whisk, whisk, whisk. And I was like, kind of like, like coming out of a cloud, and I felt a burden removed. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and this anger filled up right away. And Master Hua just turned his back and walked away. He said, yeah, I don't want to deal with you. So I went to the afternoon, I saw Master Hua. I said, Shifu, I said, I'm really tired of that. I really don't want to deal with, why do this monk and I do this? Shifu said, you don't know about your past with him. You don't have to know. That's just more false thinking. Here's what you do. He said, go in the morning, after your morning chanting, he said, in front of the Buddhas, in the quiet, you go into the side hall, the rebirth hall, or the long life hall, light a stick of incense, and bow. And you say, whatever harm I have done to you in the past, I now repent of it all entirely. I will never harm you again. And as it is with you, I want to erase all negative affinities that I have with all living beings. He said, just do it. Don't tell him, that person, you're doing it, but in the end, dedicate merit. You can hold him in your mind if you want as you bow. He said it's very difficult. He says, bow every day for a certain amount of time. If you have a half hour, bow for half an hour. If you have more, he said, and then he said, in a month, come and tell me what's going on. He said, check back in a month. Oh, okay, sure. Well, I really do want to get past this because it's just too painful. So I started to do it. Lit an incense, bowed, had him in mind. I said, any harm that I've done to you and all people, I am sorry for what I have done, and I'm not going to do it again. Just kept it up. Bowed for a month. And sure enough, I was on my way to see Master Hua, and the monk was coming this way, and I was going that way. We passed each other in the hall. I didn't even notice until somebody said he was going that way. It's like, oh yeah, it was gone. The invisible stuff, whatever that was, between the two of us was over. So that's my story. And if you, the person from Jilin who asked, if you have this invisible connection with someone that you can't get rid of, transform it into a wholesome affinity. Do bow to them and repent and reform and renew. Start fresh. That's my best advice. Alrighty, time is up, by golly. Those questions, my answers are too long, and as a result, we don't get a lot of questions answered. But I'm working on it, so don't stop asking. I'll try to get there. Hey, Master Hua's 30th remembrance, 30th anniversary of his passing, Saturday the 31st. Come in the morning, have lunch, do the ceremonies, attend the lectures, Q&A, get a really good tour of City of 10,000 Buddhas. Jin Chuan and Jin Wei have promised to take you behind the scenes in CTDB if you want. So, and then Sunday will be the standard ceremony type observance. Okay, good. Buddha Root Farm, go out and take a look. Dedicate merit. Let's see here. Oh, this popped right up. Shall we do the Medicine Buddha mantra? Let's do that. The world could definitely use some of Medicine Buddha's blessings to make a more peaceful place. So do make a wish. Tomorrow night at 7:30, lecture on the 10 Transferences chapter. Go to CTTB Live YouTube channel for that lecture. Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Aisaji 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 Samukate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Aisaja Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Bhajata Om Asaji Sounds good. One more time. Namo Bhagavate Vasajati Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Here we go, last chance. Asaji, Asaji, Aisaja, Samudgate Swaha. Alrighty. We will bow to Master Hua and the Buddhas before we quit. Here we go. Got my bell. Welcome to join if you care to. Here we go. Half bow. Second bow. Third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us for this week. Gratitude to all the volunteers who are helping with technology, helping with translation, and everybody who joined online. See you all next week. Ami Tofu, everybody.